Hello, welcome back to Dreamwalker Tarot. My name is Dawn, and this is the December reading for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Mars. Please go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for post notifications. So this month I'm doing something a little different. I'll be using the Sibylus Oracle of the Black Doves of Africa to do the reading instead of a traditional tarot. This deck functions a little bit differently and is a little bit more structured than tarot, but kind of precise, but gives a lot of insight, right? The deck has 44 cards and they're color coded with the black card, which is at the top left, the projection cards, which is on the top right, the action cards, which are on the bottom, blue, which is cool action, and then red, which is considered hot action, is on the bottom right. Okay. And so the way that these cards work is we're going to focus on the core issue along with the projection, because the combination of these two will basically look into the fundamental issues that you'll be facing this month, and also just wrapping up with the end of the year, but also kind of working with also the projection card, because the projection card is a reflection of the rationalizations or justifications that prevent you from seeing the core issue. And then the cool action is what you think and what you need to do in preparation to do the hot action, which is the action card. So let's proceed into the reading for you guys this month. I hope I explained it okay, but I'll kind of give you a little bit more insight into how this deck works as we go through it. The thing to remember with this deck is that it's not really for you to get caught up in, what's happening this month, or, what is going to happen in the tangible moment. It's about receiving, reflecting, realizing, and accepting, and then taking action towards improvement. The cards that came out for you today, Aquarius, in the position of the core issue, it is the Death card. In the position of the projection, it is the Contentment card. In the position of cool action, we have Optimism. And then in the position of hot action, we have the Nurturing card. And I think it's so interesting the way that these cards came out, and I can't wait to get into this with you guys. So let's take a look at the first card, which is a core issue card. I feel like in conjunction with the Tower card, the Death card is probably one of the tarot cards that kind of like gives everybody, it's like a pause, right? Because it's like, oh my God, death. Who wants to see that, right? But death can be symbolic of actual death, but it can also mean the ending and the closing out of things. That could mean, issues that need to be put to bed, that need to be put to be rest and resolved. This can mean, relationships coming to an end. This could mean, just the closing out of things and the ending of things, which, I mean, it's absolutely perfect that this is a card that comes up at the end of the year, because this was one of the reasons why I chose this deck to begin with, because it really gives you the opportunity to, like it says, to receive and reflect and look at the overall year, and kind of just have a moment to reflect on the things that have happened, but also to prepare for the coming year. So this is like perfect, right? So closing out issues is one of the things that comes up with the Death card. In the book, the writer says that she actually links this to ancestral reverence, which is interesting because if you remember from the previous spread, the skull card for nurturing actually came out. And for me, skulls are kind of representative of the dead, of our ancestors, of our spirits. And that is one of the things that she talks about in the book. So she says these were people in the family. Honorable ancestors were people in the family and the community who led exemplary lives and were to be consulted about matters of importance and given offerings as required. Deceased relatives are still considered present, even if they were unseen, ancestor reverence was a part of daily life for all of the people of the ancient Mediterranean, in Africa. There are a lot of places in the world that actively practice ancestral reverence. And so if you come from a place where this is something that is practiced, then this is something based on what the cards are saying, is something that you should work on nurturing a relationship with your dead, your recently dead, and understanding that even though they're not here in their physical form, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're completely gone. Because as she states in the book, scientifically speaking, we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. And so with that thinking in mind, it is important to remember that the people who have passed on, they're alive. They're alive in your hearts. And you can, communicate with them in the ways that you see fit, and consult them about matters that are important to you in your life, especially when it comes to things that you should be closing out. Like again, with the death card, that is about closing out. It could be about physically dead, but about the physically dead, and a physical death, but it could also be a non-physical death as well. So I'll go into what she writes. She says, death is usually understood at the end, but this is an unscientific position that we continue to perpetuate because we become emotionally attached to specific forms in specific ways. Most of us have heard that matter cannot be created or destroyed, but that is of little importance when we are grieving what such a short time ago was present that suddenly has become the past. And again, this can be a physical person, but this can be a situation. It could be a friendship that has come to an end, a relationship that's come to an end. And so we're mourning what was, right? And kind of feeling bad about what was, or even not really allowing something that needs to die. Like we're still keeping it alive because we have a memory past of good thoughts about it, and so we're keeping that alive in the hopes that it will come back again. So if people know if people know all matter is immortal, then what is the source of our pain and longing? The source of our pain and longing is whatever we have accepted to be accurate in relation to time and space. This is why death hurts so much. Even if we were advanced enough to see the necessity of an apparent ending and do not view it as bad or unfortunate, we will still suffer because of our perception of distance. When something or someone we adore is not in the form and space-time we're used to, we are wounded, and we long to travel back in time to experience that relatedness again. Do not feel bad about this, but understand that the present is actually where you belong. Be grateful for those times that you were with someone or doing something that brought you joy, love, and or understanding. Make peace with any mistakes you made and prove that you have learned from those mistakes by agreeing not to entertain thought patterns that resulted in the choice to do what you did if a similar situation presents itself in the future. Doing this will make you focus on the best aspects of your ever-present experience by permitting the lessons learned to make you a better person. The beauty of your relationship with that person, place, or thing will always be relevant as a continuously beneficent force. The cycle of positivity will be perpetual because long after you have moved on, your ability to extract good from apparent loss will inspire others to do the same, or at minimum know that it is possible. How many generations could be affected by such an example? If you were experiencing an ending or an apparent loss, don't focus on a new beginning if you're not up to it yet. Instead, focus on how much good you have because you had the experience. And so one of the things to consider with this particular card is whether or not you're focused on how much you could have received instead of how much you're already receiving. And do you believe that you can lose something that is truly yours? Has not making peace with your mistakes in the past prevented the best of the experiences from shining through? And what did you learn from them? How could your wisdom practically benefit others and also practically benefit yourself moving forward and making the right decisions, in the future? What would you want others to feel and learn from your interaction with them if you were the one who died or otherwise had to move on? And when you really think about that, like how a person will experience you, it's not to be morbid, but one of the things that's always interesting to me about funerals is the things that people say about a person that's passed on. And sometimes, it really makes you think like, damn, like I wonder what somebody would say about me. Like if I wasn't here, what would they say about me at my funeral? And if I am okay with the things that are being said, that I feel like that's a representation of the fact that you're living a pretty decent life. But if you're not okay with what you think people might say, that should be a push in the direction of, doing better and of living better and of trying to live a life that you will be proud of, when it's all said and done. And also remember that when we pass on, we will become ancestors to our children and to our grandchildren, and we will be able to help them and serve them and give them wonderful advice when they seek us, in ancestral reverence, because this is something that we also want to be able to pass down to our children so that they can communicate with us when we are no longer in our mortal bodies. So that's actually something really interesting to think about. And are there fears, or do you have fears related to this ending that have nothing to do with the actual person, place, or thing? Which brings us to the projection card, which is shown here as the contentment card, right? And so again, the projection card reflects the rationalizations or justifications in your mind that are preventing you from seeing the core issue. It is the comfortable mask of excuses that is placed on the truth that if you remove it and work it out, will eventually, if not removed and worked out, will eventually cause you internal suffering, unnecessary suffering, really, and hardships. And so it's interesting that the contentment card came out with the death card, because the two of these cards together really actually tells a really definite story, a definitive story. Okay, so the contentment card is really talking about kind of putting like this good face forward and pretending that everything is okay, right? While on the inside, you might not necessarily feel the way that you are projecting out into the world. So there really is this is really a call to action, really saying that you need to take the necessary steps to kind of change the situation, whatever those relationships are, or releasing something that needs to be released, whatever that might be for you in your particular life, that you need to make the steps towards letting those things go and to closing them out, because holding on to them and mourning something or trying to keep something alive that shouldn't be kept alive is going to make you miss out on opportunities and certain things that might be necessary for you, or you might be prolonging other things from coming into your life because you're unable to let go of the things that you keep holding on to. If this is a situation with a person and you feel like you need to end it, and you feel like you're going to betray them if you don't end it, I think it really is time to sit with the fact that, are you okay with betraying yourself as opposed to betraying someone else? I mean, there is a sense that you kind of want to look at something that needs to be over in your life with like a glass half full mentality, and trying to come into the situation and being a martyr because you want to show someone else that you love and care for them, but this is going to actually hurt you more than help you. And really what this speaks to is being afraid to let go, because you don't know what that looks like. If it's a person that's in your life, it's like you don't know what that's going to look like with them not being around. In the book, she says, to be truly happy, we must learn the art of being completely honest with ourselves. If we feel something is not right and we repeatedly try to convince ourselves otherwise, then mediocrity is all we can ever hope to achieve. Perhaps we harbor soul-stunting beliefs such as we can't have it all, or don't rock the boat, or we would rather be safe than sorry. But if you reflect on these axioms, it will not take long to see how disempowering they really are. By pretending to be content, you not only betray yourself, but also set in motion all the negative effects that you would experience if you had betrayed another person. Lying to yourself only increases the number of things for you to lie to yourself about, and that ensures anger, remorse, and shame. Beware the diminishing theories that promote the idea that there is nobility in lack. This is untrue for all, but a very small number of Aztecs in the world. I don't know what that word, Aztecs in the world. However, even Aztecs have made a choice to experience lack. So they are not suffering, as the choice to do without was not made in the spirit of settling or giving up. But if you are not satisfied with an aspect of your life, do not allow the ego to convince you to play the martyr. There is no greater cause than your development. So don't fear being wrong, fear being afraid. And the card that comes out in the cool position for the action card is optimism. And cool is just really just the thought process that goes into something you do before you take an action. And the meaning behind this card is basically to say that you should believe that things will work out for the best and go forward with no doubt in your mind. This is necessary. It's a necessary step for you to take now. So whatever it is, let it go, okay? And the final card, which is the card for hot action, which is the action that you actually have to take, is the nurturing card. Okay, so I got to read this. The nurturing card shows a coin in the mouth, right? The statement that this card says is that which you feed will continue to sit at your table. Oh my God, that's so freaking good. The coining of the mouth was a ritual done by the Greeks and Romans and in the Levant to ensure that the recently deceased gained safe passage to the underworld. Not unlike today, the care by which a family conducted the funerary arrangements of a relative, what was said about the deceased at the service, and who was or was not in attendance often reflected the conduct of the decedent. The butterfly represents rebirth, as the ancients believed in some form of afterlife, the pleasantries or discomforts of which were also determined by a person's conduct when they walked upon the earth. This card represents constant awareness of who and what we feed with our attention. And I feel like that really, really says it all. So the story here is let go of the old relationships and the relationships that don't serve you. Only have relationships with people who feed your soul, who give you back, the things that you give to them. Nurture yourself, put into yourself, put as much into yourself as you put into other people. You are just as important. You're actually more important. The relationship that you have with yourself will be with you for forever. And you want to make sure that you are feeding and nurturing a relationship with yourself. And lastly, there's really an element here of developing a connection with your recently departed ancestors. I feel like that came through literally on every freaking card, right? Is really developing a relationship with your recently departed ancestors, talking with them, consulting with them, and really nurturing a relationship between them, between you and them. And also, this is something that you want to teach. If you're going to do this, teach it to your children so that they can be able to have these same types of relationships with you when you are no longer here. This spread was freaking beautiful. And I kind of feel like it will benefit anyone, even if they aren't an Aquarius. This message is amazing and I love it. So at the end of this year, I really want you to sit with yourself and really think about the relationships, the situations, the places, the things, all the things that you will be closing out this year, that need to be closed out this year, that you have delayed closing out this year. and focus on the energy that you're going to be bringing in to your life in 2022, and all the things that you want to feed that nurture you in this new year. Ashe. Thank you for listening. Please, please, please like the video, comment, and share the video with someone who you think could benefit from the message that came through today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for post notifications. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, and I will see you soon.